I caught my wife with another man. But what happened next changed everything today. I'm going to tell you a story that still gives me chills. A story about trust, betrayal, and how one night turned my life upside down. Sit back and get comfortable, it's going to be intense. It all started with little things. My wife, Eileena, seemed perfect. We'd been together for 7 years, had our own apartment, shared plans. But the last couple of months, something went wrong. She started pulling away. She was late from work more often. She's an interior designer. Her phone, always left out in the open, was now constantly face down or went with her even to the bathroom. And that look, empty, like she was somewhere far away, even when we were together. I brushed it off. Just tired, tough project. Love is blind, right? But a worm of doubt gnawed at me. One evening, when she said she'd be late for a client meeting, I snapped. I don't know what came over me, jealousy, intuition. I got in the car and drove to her studio. The lights were off. No cars in the lot. My heart sank. Where was she? Then I remembered her recent story about a new big shot client, Sergey. She'd mentioned in passing that he rented an apartment in a new luxury complex on the outskirts. I found the address in her old messages on the tablet she'd left at home. Google Maps, and I was racing there, my palms sweating on the steering wheel. The complex was huge, but luck or misfortune smiled on me. I spotted her car immediately, parked next to an expensive black SUV. I remembered the license plate, that same Sergey. 5th floor. The elevator ride was agonizingly slow. My head was filled with movie scenes. What would I say? What would I do? I stepped out onto the floor. Silence. A long corridor. And there it was, apartment 512. The door was slightly ajar. Just a crack. Like someone hadn't closed it properly. And from inside, muffled voices. A woman's laugh. Her laugh. And a low male voice. Blood pounded in my temples. My whole body tensed. I pushed the door. It opened silently. I stepped into the hallway. Beyond was the living room. And there, they were standing by a huge panoramic window. He was holding her from behind. Her head was tilted back on his shoulder. She was whispering something in his ear. On the table, a bottle of wine. 2 glasses. I froze. My world narrowed to that image. Betrayal, pain, rage. I wanted to scream, burst in, make a scene. But my legs felt rooted to the floor. Eileena, I croaked. Not loud, but in the apartment's silence, it sounded like a gunshot. She spun around. Her eyes. There was no fear, no guilt. There was shock, and something else. Something I couldn't read. Max, what are you doing here? Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with intense agitation. Sergey turned to. Tall, fit, expensively dressed. His face was tense. He didn't let go of Eileena. You followed her? He asked coldly. His gaze drilled into me. I couldn't get a word out. A lump in my throat, pain. I stared at my wife, expecting to see shame, pleading. But her face was strangely focused. She glanced quickly at Sergey, then back at me. And suddenly, she gave a barely perceptible nod towards the bedroom. Max, you don't understand, she began, and real panic rang in her voice. Leave, please. Leave right now. It's not what you think. Not what I think. They're standing there embracing, with wine, in his apartment late at night. What else was I supposed to think? Explain, I hissed, taking a step forward. Explain what this is, Eileena. Who is he? Sergey suddenly released her and stepped towards me too. He looked dangerous. You'd better listen to her and leave, he said quietly, but with such menace that a chill ran down my spine. Before it gets worse. I felt like a cornered animal. Pain mixed with adrenaline. I was ready to lunge at him. But Alina's gaze. It was unbearable, full of despair and warning. At that moment, a rustle came from the slightly open bedroom door. Then a weak groan. A human groan. Eileena jerked violently, her eyes widening with real, animal terror. Sergey instantly spun towards the bedroom, his hand instinctively reaching towards his belt, as if for a weapon that wasn't visible. No, Eileena almost shouted, throwing herself between us and the bedroom. She looked at me, and fire burned in her eyes, a plea and desperate resolve. Max, for God's sake, shut up and listen. This isn't an affair, it's an operation. An operation. What? My brain refused to understand how. What kind of operation? I whispered. I'm not a designer, Max. Elena spoke rapidly, in a whisper but clearly, her eyes darting between me, Sergey, and the bedroom door. Well, not just I. I work for the Financial Crimes Unit. An investigation. Major fraud. Money laundering through real estate. Sergey, he's my partner. We're undercover. This affair, it's cover to get close to the ringleader. He's in there. She nodded towards the bedroom. He's wounded. We're waiting for backup, but comms are down. He heard you. If he suspects, he's armed, Max. He'll kill us all. My world shattered and reassembled in a second. An affair, no. My wife's life and her partner's hung by a thread. Because of me. Because of my blind jealousy. From the bedroom came a hoarse, weak voice. Sergey. Who's there? I heard voices. Sergey shot me a look full of fury and command. Shut up. His hand was still at his belt. Elena froze, white as a sheet. I stood in the hallway, feeling the ground disappear beneath my feet. The betrayer wasn't Elena. The betrayer, the blind, jealous fool, was me. And now, we might all pay for it with our lives. And in that icy silence, under the watchful eye of the armed criminal behind the door, under my wife's gaze mixed with fear and hope, I understood one terrible thing. Sometimes the worst betrayals aren't the ones committed by others. It's the betrayal of yourself, the betrayal of trust, the betrayal of reason, and the price of such betrayal can be the highest. What happened next? How did we get out? And most importantly, were we able to rebuild what I almost destroyed with my distrust? That's for the next video. Like if the story hooked you, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the continuation. Write in the comments what you would have done in my place at that moment. Share your own stories of trust. Bye for now, and hold your loved ones close.